Let me just introduce myself. My name is Sakaio, and I work for FFA, and we're based in Honiara, Solomon Islands. People often ask me how many fishing boats you have, because of the acronym there is FFA, which stands for Pacific Islands Foreign Fisheries Agency. Excuse me, we don't fish, or we're another fishing company. However, we do provide technical assistance in terms of the fisheries management in the Pacific. And the industry, people say, oh, it's a $1 million industry. No, it's not. It's a $1 billion industry. That's why it's important that we keep our members on their toes when it comes to securing their data. So with that done, so the question that I would like to ask is, where have we come from? It's all about the foundation of establishing and seeking ISO 2701, if you're familiar with ISO 2701, which led to an ISO review. What the ISO review found is that in FFA, we have unstructured or little training. So that means it's not consistent. There has been some work done in terms of fishing, but again, it's on an ad hoc basis. There's been the technical installation been done within the organization, but when it comes to the implementation, we are not taking the people on the journey. They are not part of the journey. They all being left out because they think cybersecurity is an ICT problem, or it's an ICT responsibility. So where are we now? We conducted the ISO review. We've taken the actions that needs to be done. We now have a structured program in place. We run monthly fishing simulations in order, and we've been provided with an exec report on a monthly basis. We've got the cyber champions enacted and enabled. So that actually take care of what came out of the ISO review. When I talk about the ISO, I'm talking about the ISMS review. So where are we going? We are still committed to the ISO 2701 because we want to get the ISO certification. It's important. We have stakeholders, which are the EU, the World Bank, Australia, and New Zealand. They're very important. Once they have, they know, once they've seen that we've taken these steps, they are more willing to give us more money. And that's what I'm after. So we run programs, ongoing monitoring and comms to staff to improve understanding and the personal security. We focus on reducing the click rate. So when staff receive the phishing, and once they've gone through the program, they know this email is not from someone I don't know. So they will automatically either flag it as spam or delete it. Like I said, the whole exercise is to making sure that our people are part of everything we do. So comes the $1 million question. Why are we doing this? We have the future of sustainable fishing in our hands. We accept our responsibility to be secure. We accept the pursuit of excellence. We take the security of our data and our people very seriously. And because the revenue that we're getting from the fishing industry helps a lot of small countries in our region. The cyber champions, like I said, this is something that we have already started. We train 12 champions, not only within FFA, but also within the Solomon Islands Ministry of Fisheries. We invited them to be part of the journey. We've got our bi-monthly meetings, training and mentorship. So we've got a partner who is based here in Australia that's helped us to run these meetings, training, and mentorship. We allow the community or the users to take ownership and from their business unit as part of this journey. It's a non-intrusive on their BAU operations, cognizant of local culture. We are aware of the culture. So we need to make sure that when we run this training, we take into consideration the culture of the people or where we're working. And it's create cyber safety omnipresence. Cyber life skills, we in the FFA, we believe that if we train the people on cyber life skills, they will be able to actually know their responsibility. So there is recognition of knowledge gap and behavior concerns. We seek to fill that knowledge, skill and behavioral gaps, the development of delivery of skill programs. Skills must be focused on personal lives of people. If we make it personal, then it will be irrelevant. If you teach a man how to fish, then he will get the fish every day. So that's the whole idea, the whole concept. So make it personal, it will become relevant, and then it will become important. Incident response resilience, that we need to take them through the journey. They need to be trained on incident response. How do they respond? So we run desktop exercises, we review our IRP, and there are linkages to the organizational crisis management plan and business continuity plans. It helps a lot in improving the organizational resilience. Ransomware, yeah, we acknowledge and we continue to know or understand that ransomware continues to threaten and grow in negative impact. 91% of attacks commence with phishing email. Can be defended more effectively through people. So we need to take people, our users, through this journey. So for the next 12 months, we will continue to develop our cyber life skills programs, continue to measure our cybersecurity and safety culture to determine the progress that we make. We support our champions program and continue our program of learning. Culture is the heart and soul. It is the core of our behavior. It's not a journey of days. It's not a journey of months. It's a journey of years. Responsibility, cybersecurity, like I said, it's a responsibility of all managers and leaders. In fact, it should be the responsibility of everybody, not just IT. That's one thing that I want you to take away from this session. It's not my responsibility, it's our responsibility collectively. It is a life culture, not just a work culture. You know, whatever you learn at the workplace, you need to take that home and build your loved ones at home on how they can actually have that skill to keep them safe. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm not going to get any questions for Sakaio just yet. We're going to do it at the end because Suetena just came online. So we're going to have the next presentation. Then we're going to open up to questions to Suetena and Sakaio and talk about what both presentations are actually leading towards. So Suetena, you're online?
Yes, good afternoon, moderator and Sakaio. Great to hear the presentation. So without further ado, let me share my screen. All right. Everyone see the screen? Yes?
Yes. Put
Is it
in,
bigger?
yeah, they're perfect. Well done.
All right. Before I start my presentation, my name is Suetena. I have worked for government for a few years, but now I've moved into the private. But I'm from Websafe Samoa. I believe my managing partner is in the audience, making sure that everyone knows what securing the internet is and building cybersecurity for the Pacific is. But my talk today for the Pacific IGF, and I would like to thank PICAIXOC and the team there in Australia and around the Pacific for allowing Websafe to present on this great forum. We have all the leaders here in the internet and everyone that needs to be building the next phase of what the internet will be for the future. So my talk is about increasing secure internet use through cybersecurity awareness in the Pacific. So what does this entail? Why do we need to build secure internet use? Evidently, COVID has brought us to a catalyst, which saw a lot of governments, a lot of nations move to digital platforms. And with that, it has amplified and catalyzed the speed at which adopting digital transformation and the rapid changes in information technology has thrusted many of us, some prepared, some unprepared, and some just trying to get through the pandemic and what it brought. It brought both the medical side of the impacts, but also brought the digital heartaches in terms of trying to find solutions that were readily available in-house, and as well as trying to communicate and develop new partnerships through a world crisis. So it brought a lot of challenges, not only for the bigger players, but especially for the smaller players like the blue continent that we live in. And these small islands within this blue continent were the ones that struggled through the economic challenges, as well as trying to facilitate normal living standards for all. So it also brought, in terms of application, a lot of the solutions were digitized and utilizing the internet as a huge platform for interconnectedness and sharing of knowledge, sharing of ideas, and even sharing the understanding of globalization through digital means. And as we move forward, more and more native applications, ones that used to sit on your on-prem resources and in your server rooms and data centers within your country, are now moving to the web. And moving to the web also brought both new web standards that were more flexible in terms of the data-driven applications, where I think we saw some of the speakers talk about data privacy, and that is caused by the new standards, meaning that the applications are driven by data, and hence why there is a lot of talk about data privacy, which is something that the discussion for the next few days should heavily be put forth in terms of policy and regulations around the region. So what is the problem? Why do we need to secure the internet in terms of its uses? And why cybersecurity? As we all know, cybersecurity deals with the main purpose, which is protecting the data. The data is the most important element of today's digital age. You could have so much infrastructure, but if the data is not well protected, then basically that infrastructure is a shell to those data. It is also the new oil. So whoever has the data that is required by adversaries or those who try to retrieve them through threats and cyber attacks, then that's where things become a little bit gray and a bit difficult to handle. So the problem is there's an increased creation of data. We already started to see a lot of the tools being automated by the new trends and emerging technologies like AI, big data, IoT. So all of this will become part of the internet and interwoven into its fabrics that we'll be using every day. Where you talk about smart cars, smart devices, everyone has some sort of data somewhere that is traveling on the internet. So why is this a concern? Because it's automated. Data now is automated in terms of how data is gathered, how data is produced, and so forth. It also creates other problems with unauthorized and authorized data is in the transactions of these connections. And to filter that, it becomes a little bit difficult. So I think within those areas, those domains provide the reasons why those problems are there and how should we use it, because everything now on the internet is related to your information, my information, a company's information, a country's information, or a region's information. So with all that online, it produces a multi-entry point for data threats, and which means that anything can come anywhere if we are not well informed or well protected, or we have the right resources to prevent those. So why should the Pacific worry? It should worry because we are small islands. Small things can have difficult ways of fighting through certain areas of support. And we also have small communities. So meaning that we can't leverage a lot of the resources that we would want to leverage, where with big communities, you have a huge pool of HR resources, technical expertise, expert in terms of specific technologies. So in the Pacific, that is scattered, and different countries have different domains of expertise. We are also more vulnerable than we know. With the thrust into the digital transformation, a lot of things are also being put online, and it's like the yin-yang twins. You have digital transformation and you have cybersecurity. Those two cannot leave each other. They have to go together. If you want to go digital transformed, you need to have cybersecurity. If you have cybersecurity, you need to protect something that's digital. Our people might not know or sure how to respond when something happens, especially as a lot of the speakers have provided that the major problem that we see is spam and phishing and campaigns that are targeted at the low-hanging fruits of the Pacific society, which means that these are the people that have not really understood how to fully utilize the technology, as well as how to prevent these threats from visiting their phones, their digital resources, infrastructure, and so forth. The other part is our culture can be a defense, and it also can be a threat. As you know, the Pacific is more communal in its understanding, and because of the fundamentals of that communal understanding, things are shared in terms of inherent trust. We are in the age that digital resources are now available, and the borderlines are quite gray. And with communal understanding, if you go around the Pacific, you'll find that usually most of the islands don't have fences or don't have borderlines because it's from the past. And that becomes an ideology or mentality that could hinder development in the digital age for the Pacific based on traditional norms and traditional customs. It does provide results that could be both social and financially impactful. And this could be negative, it could be positive, but we need to weigh out what would be the positives more than the negatives so we can manage the negatives in terms of those digital spaces. So how do we deal with it? So basically we should build cybersecurity awareness into the national interest through regional engagements, which would focus more likely on the targeting, focus on the future populations and the residents for tomorrow. And everyone is important, from academia to business to governments to communities and special groups. Academia, especially because you're preparing for the future. You don't have the resources and you need to build that resources. And given my understanding, we are the generation 20 years ago that were taught the internet. And now 20 years later, we demand for the internet. Similar case, when academia presents that to the current generation, they will be 20 years ahead in the next 20 years to actually implement cybersecurity at a more advanced level. Businesses, because there are things that are moving within a country and from different ports to different places. Business has a louder voice because you have financial gains and financial losses at stake, and they have the loudest voice. Governments, they are the glue to society. They provide the roads and paths that everyone must follow, both academia in terms of forecasting resources for the future and business for maintaining the economic stability of a country, and governments to regulate those things. And whereas the community is the people, and special groups are different groups of people in terms of their either economic status, their digital standing, and then also in terms of the digital standing, where are they? Are they in those who are rich in digital skills, or those who are in the average levels, or those who are poor, or even those who have no access or to digital skills or cybersecurity influence? We must all commit because it's a small place. We need to commit resources, commit understanding, and commit the necessary forecast for the future. And in that sense, everyone must play their part and play the same tune, because any music tune that does not play along with the notes of a musical actually would not sound good. So everyone needs to put in their effort in terms of those areas. So how do we deal with that? We need to develop partners that are willing to help. This partnership would share the loads with your neighbors, your countries, which means that countries to country, bilateral, multilateral, and all those areas, they need to come together and share what understanding they have, what resources they have. And on the organizational levels, companies, businesses, and organizations who find commonality in terms of their interests could share those areas in terms of collaboration and so forth. And then the communities, what communities do we have access to? How can communities from Samoa communicate with communities in Fiji, communities in Tonga, Cook Island, and all these other nations, and even communities in Australia and New Zealand? Then sharing resources through agreements, especially through experts, the technology, knowledge resources, and activity collaboration. So we need to share activity collaboration because from sharing this, we learn from each other. So what results are we looking for in terms of a secure internet use? It will improve the level of secure internet use. It will provide for new adoption in terms of cybersecurity support. It will strengthen the workforce support for distributed activities. It will create new methods of strengthening national security. It will minimize the exploitation of misconfigured platforms and settings. Increase the human mitigation support in terms of cyber threats and online privacy. And accelerates the support for digital transformation, removing the fears of adopting internet workflows brought by cyber threats. So what does Websafe do, and where is Websafe at the current time? So Websafe has been working hard. It has worked within Samoa, in the domestic area of Samoa, working with the private sector, working with chains of supermarkets, some factories, fast food chains, and critical infrastructure. So these are some of the areas that we have been working with some of our clients in building awareness in terms of cybersecurity. We've worked with the youth. I think it's important that the youth is one of the areas that we need to put emphasis on. They are the administrators, they are the configurators, and they are the people that will manage tomorrow. So it's important that their minds are changed and their minds are facilitated in a way that it's more cyber conscious, so that cyber hygienic habits become part of their nature, and you don't have to teach those. So supporting the business community and small other companies. We also are here to help the Pacific family in any way possible. Hence why we are presenting today to the Pacific Forum of Internet policymakers and regulators and so forth. We have been working with the government of Samoa in terms of accreditation of cybersecurity training. So this work has been done in collaboration with the Samoan Qualification Authority. And this means that we have provided a platform where if you go from office to office, your cybersecurity training is recognized that can be applicable in your new ventures in terms of your new position in other offices within Samoa. We also provide international recognized certification where it's not only recognized in Samoa, but recognized internationally and within the region as well. So this means that you are trained with quality and you are trained with the expectation of the international standards. And one of these standards is the ISO 2700, as my friend had alluded earlier. And on that note, we would like to thank everyone for tuning in to today's presentation, especially the team at PKISOC for the hard work and the partners as well as Auda in terms of preparing these sessions for our Pacific family. So be part of the protection chain. Do your part by sharing what you can. So cybersecurity is not just for the technical people. It's everyone's duty, and Websafe's hope is to help you strengthen the protection chain. Thank you, and Faftai Lava.
Thanks, Suetena, and stay in line because there's going to be some questions thrown at you fairly shortly. So I've now got you for half an hour before that door gets open and you can get out. So we're going to do something a little bit differently. I'm actually going to force you each line to ask a question. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. So you've got to actually look at someone along that line and say, point to them and say, you're asking that question. But I want us to have a discussion to move forward. So a couple of things I got out of the presentations. It's not about the system or the process. It's about the people. So keep that in mind. It's about the people. It's about the people in the organization that we've got. It's about the country. It's about our partnerships. It's about education. So if I follow on from last presentation, I sit on 4 university curriculum boards. I'm a professor at a couple of universities, and I work with universities change the curriculum. Some of that curriculum is cyber, and I'm rewriting a master's of cyber for one of the institutions. But part of that is to focus on what's it mean to govern and what's it mean to be technical and what's it mean, the skills are very different. So what I want you to think about when you get this question is how FFA and Suetena of Websafe, how are they implementing some of the things that they've learned over the time? Because cybersecurity, if we define it, everyone's going to have a different definition of what it means. If we define who the bad actors are, everyone's going to think it's someone different. So how are we coming to a common understanding where we're using some standards or we're using some knowledge to fight against it? So do we have any online questions before I go and force people here to ask questions? Anything? All right, I'm coming down. Because it's got acronyms. Oh, Jesus, I need my glasses on this. All right. Question for Sakaio. Was there buy-in from FFA leadership to invest in cybersecurity from the start, or did you need to rally support? Do you have any suggestions on how to build this buy-in in organizations where that support, awareness, understanding doesn't exist already? Fantastic question. You'll need the mic. I'm coming back.
Very agile.
I am. I did this to a theatre at QT, and it was 70 steps. By the end of it, I'd had enough. Is there another question after that? Well done, Claire.
All right, thank you. Was there any buy-in from the FFA management? Yes, but we have to convince them. You know, you have to put in a case why they have to spend that much money. And the reason is clear, like I put in one of the slides, why are we doing this? And it's because of the value of the fisheries in the region. You know, most of the small island countries, half of their budget comes from the fishing revenue. And if we don't protect that, then they're going to lose out. So that case that we brought forward, or we put forward to management, it's a strong signal that we send to the management and also the FFA Governing Council that they need to actually, provide that funding to be able to allow us to actually put something in place that will have not only the members confident in FFA, but also the partners. Like I said, we've got EU, we've got the World Bank, we've got ADB. So with that, they know that if the data is actually sitting with FFA, we've got the controls in place as part of the ISO 271 implementation. We've got the controls in place, but that does not mean if we have the ISO 271, we are secure. No, we still have to train the people, because even though we might put a $1 million firewall to keep the bad guys out, what happens if one of the users at FFA try to, click on say you won the lotto when they never subscribe to that lotto? That's it. Well, $1 million firewall, it's gone out of the window because of just that one click. Yes, of course, we got the buy-in from management, but we have to be on our toes. We will actually put a case forward of why there is a need.
Yeah, not enough. Anyone? We're going to go for the first row. Oh, look at this. Second row, you better get ready.
I have the question for you, sir. This is actually not a question. I'd just like to share, if you could share the challenges that you had on your journey for the ISO 27001.
It's a challenge for us. The ISO 270, there are other standards that we can actually adopt, we can easily adopt, but the FFA Governing Council actually accepted the ISO 271 for some reasons. So the challenge that we have is implementing the ISO 271, because if you look at the ISO 271, there are 4 controls that are required under the ISO 271, and you need to ensure that your documentation it's based on those 4 controls. If you look at some of the organizations, they look at recruitment. They will say, oh, this one is need to be put in place in term to be included as part of the ISO 271. No, the ISO 271 doesn't talk about how you recruit people. It's about the controls that you put in place to actually protect your valuable data, which is your information, and on top of that, your people. So those are the challenges, and the other challenge is taking that message across to the users. How we manage to bring them along the journey, it's hard, and that's why we conduct a lots of training, and when it comes to training, you need to have the money, and lots of training to actually ensure that people are aware of their responsibility. Thank you.
I'm going to the second row. Going that way, unless they don't have one. So, something, Sakaio, just to add on to that, you're not by yourself. So if you're going to put a policy in, there's a lot of templates out there, but make it customized to what you need it to do, and go out to people who've already done it. I know that Sakaio did, because I was part of sort of that discussion early on. So you can go out and get some references, and you get people to actually help you along that journey. So no one's on their own. You've got a big group here. Use each other. That's here. Second row. You guys are hiding down there. Do you want to? No. I am coming to every row. Yeah.
All right. Sakaio, thanks for your presentation. Was there a specific incident that led FFA down this path, or was it a evolution of, we can see this happening elsewhere, we need to do something? i.e., was there a trigger event?
And we need 2 microphones, but here we go.
That's a good question. There are events, but they're not major. There are small incident that happen that actually prompt us to look at how we can improve that, and we come to realize that we the IT team can't do it on our own, so we need to have everybody as part of the journey. That's why we focus on training everybody to be aware of their responsibility. And the most important thing, we make that cybersecurity is not an IT only responsibility. It has to be everybody.
And don't forget, Suetena's online. And Sakaio, the other thing you should have mentioned was that you're doing a PhD in cyber, which actually is part of the reason why you've got such a passion for it. So, which one?
Hey, I don't have a question for Suetena, but Suetena, great job, Suetena. You look beautiful, man. My question is about Sakaio. Hey, brother. Firstly, congrats on your ISO pathway. That's very incredible what you guys are doing. And as you said, it's not easy, but congratulations on that. My question is around what you touched on, training your champions. As you said that you have members, does your ISO pathways or your planning funnel down to your members? For example, Samoa and Ministry of Fisheries. Do you guys look in the future of helping those members in trying to get to ISO, or even looking at cybersecurity for them? Thanks.
You got 30 seconds to think about the answer. Too late. Here it is. Go.
Thank you, my friend from Samoa. Yes, like I said, the FFA, we provide technical assistance to all the members. We have 17 countries who are part of FFA. So for the cybersecurity, we decided that we're going to exclude Australia and New Zealand. They don't need our help. And yes, to answer your question, we just have the World Bank project been approved, and that will actually allow us to use that money to share the love, or include the 15 member countries in terms of the training. We haven't actually decided which country to start off with. We know that we've got Solomon already in the back, because they now part of the program, the Cyber Champion program. Hopefully we will start with Tonga, because they've done their work on the ISMS policy. They've got the one that has already been approved by the management, and we'll go as they actually come on board. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, we don't want to leave anyone behind. We want everybody who are a member of FFA to be part of the journey.
What have you done already with members?
Yeah, what we've done with members already, we will actually work with them in the development of the ISMS policy. So with that, these are the minimum requirements. We also have a project called the New Treaty Subsidiary Agreement, which requires the member who have signed to the party to at least have a SMS policy in place. So if they don't have a policy in place, then that funding will actually be stalled until they've got the SMS policy in place. So that's one of the other areas that we've done in terms of helping the members in terms of cybersecurity. Yeah, and also the risk assessment. So we look at the maturity of the ISMS or cyber maturity in the members, and we determine on based on what they've actually put in the survey. So from there, we actually based on what they provided to us, the information, then we actually look at how the policy can help in terms of getting that done.
And what you didn't say is you've done 9 risk assessments? 10? 9? 10? Yeah. I should know. Who's got it? Oh. Doing for drinks.
Hi, Suetena. Selu here from Tonga. First, before my question, I just want to comment on the great work you're doing out there in Samoa with Websafe. It's been a journey. Just a few comments on that is I'm wondering how you guys go about with all the mindsets out there because it's very challenging in Tonga. Everyone, as mentioned earlier, has their own thinking, and when there's an awareness program, it's a it's a bit of a struggle. And then the question directed to you for the PAC family here, any thoughts on reviving PAC cert? Malo.
I think that's yours, Suetena.
Thanks, Salu. Great to see that you're in the audience. Great to see that the Pacific family is alive and well in terms of the internet and cybersecurity. So I think there's two questions in the question. So how does Websafe deal with the understanding of ideology and the misconception of demystifying a certain understanding of cybersecurity? How we've been conducting our training is every organization has a different culture. With that different culture, there's different kind of people, different ideas, different understanding. So cybersecurity is about data and people. And so you have to align the contextualization of how those people perceive data and how they perceive when they lose something. So say, for example, you had a water bottle, right? Every water bottle looks the same. Everyone can have a water bottle, but the understanding of if that water bottle is removed from you, how would you react? So that's how you would deal with people that have different understanding because they're reading stuff on the internet. Thankfully, the internet is doing a good job in terms of those who are pushing out the internet. Everyone is getting information, but at the same time, this information is something that is causing a few more problems as well, not only for governments, but also for communities, because people have a voice and now that voice is unregulated, whereas in the traditional system, that voice was regulated through the media paths. So I think it's about contextualizing the understanding of cybersecurity for each person and trying to align their needs in terms of how they perceive the resources that they might lose in maybe the short run or the long run. And this can be applied in different levels, even from individuals all the way up to structures of companies and into maybe government as well. It's always going to be a challenge, but you have to mitigate it. And it's not a technical element of how cybersecurity is being perceived, this is where everyone sees cybersecurity as a technical thing, and ICT people need to focus on it. But basically, you haven't focused on the legislations, on the policy areas, even on the resource. So it needs to become a business strategy as well, because you tend to remove cybersecurity from the business strategy and make it an IT strategy. So it has to be part of the business model, because without it, you have finger pointing. And if it becomes a business model, then you have management aligning well with the resource that is required to actually build those areas of need. In terms of the other question, in terms of Paxson, so currently there's a few certs in the Pacific now. Samoa, I think, was the latest to that chain of cybersecurity incident responders. But I believe that Paxson is currently worked through the areas where Pacific CERT needs to not only build the governance side, but also build the technical as well as the financial engine that will facilitate. As Sakaio noted, awareness is important and vital, but it has a price. and that price, either through partnerships or sharing of resources, can only be realized in that area, because we are in the right place in the right time to actually to make that happen even more, in terms of the dream that we have. With the current events that are happening around the world, going online, it's a beneficial thing for the economies of the blue content, in a way that it saves costs, but it also runs a risk in terms of the cyber threat that's lurking. And if we're not well prepared, because we're both leapfrogging into the digital age in terms of digital transformation, but at the same time, leapfrogging comes with the need to mitigate what is coming, what is on the other side of that bridge. So I think I hopefully I have answered your question, but I'm more than happy to share a few emails, a few chats here and there in terms of those areas of type.
Okay. Hi, I have a question regarding the part where you mentioned that you're working with government for cybersecurity training accreditation. Which trainings are these? What sort of accreditations are you referring to? Because you say internationally recognized certifications, and also how did you go about doing this, and sort of trying to see how we can in Fiji probably work towards the same thing. So thank you.
In terms of the accreditation, because we're trying to comply with local laws, and we also want to give back to the community, training them is not just enough, but having a merit that they can actually utilize in furthering their employment credibility in the country is also the reason why we are working with Samoa Qualification Authority in terms of that. Because we see that building people's trust in terms of a system also builds their understanding that they need to be part of that system. And hence why we're working with our local qualification authority in terms of bringing those up. In terms of the international certification that we offer, we are a partner of CompTIA, and all the CompTIA suites of certificates are actually delivered by Websafe in partnership with CompTIA's support. And we are also looking into other partnerships in terms of the other certifications that are more in the areas of red teaming and purple teaming, which in the cybersecurity area is offensive security and penetration testing. It's something that we lack here in Samoa, and I also believe it's something that we lack in the Pacific, but merging those understanding would give us a better picture of how to defend. We're small nation states, and we need everyone's expertise. And so if we can build the region in terms of those expertise, we can share it across different countries. So take note that we are the blue continent, and we are stuck in the middle of the blue ocean. And the other part is we crisscross the Americas and the Asias. So we're seeing a lot of submarine cables, and that also brings another understanding that it is a need to mitigate any threat that comes through those as well.
Okay, thanks, Lieutenant. Now, we could talk about certification and international standards for a long time, and it's probably worth touching on at another stage. It's but we do have Jemesa online. So we're going to run that last presentation at a specific time. We're just getting to the end, and so we'll run this. And I've checked, the drinks aren't on yet. So as soon as the drinks are on, I'll shut it down and we'll get out there first. But so until that happens, you're stuck in here. So we'll go to this next presentation. Jemesa, you're there. Excellent.
Yes, Bula.
Bula. Over to you.
Yeah, yeah. I thought we were just going to have a discussion, but anyway, yeah, just
we can
I
have a
think I'll
discussion.
just
We can open it up if you want to give a couple of minutes sort of presentation or just a discussion of who you are and your role and responsibility and some of the opportunities that you see or some of the areas. And then we'll open that discussion because I do have one more line of questioning to go down, and Brian's down there. He's tried to get out, but I've stopped him. So if you want to, Jemesa, just sort of talk about who you are for the people in the room who don't know.
Okay. Yes. Ambul, I'm just can refer to me as James. I'm a police officer, but been working in digital forensics and cybercrime for I think more than 15 years now in Fiji, and my area of responsibility is with police. When I started was doing cybercrime investigations, but specifically the extraction of electronic evidence for inducement to court. So those were the early days of starting up cybercrime capacity within Fiji police, and sort of moved on from there. Did a few work outside of Fiji, investigation studies. Yes, but I'm currently with the Ministry of Home Affairs from 2021, working around digital transformation and cybersecurity. So we're currently working on critical infrastructure cyber incident response. So we just came off a training with Save, who is currently there last week, where we trained. We had Adli Wahid from Ipinikoba. He did incident response training with our critical infrastructure operators. So the framework that we are looking at is embedding certain CSAT within our critical infrastructure agencies at the operational level, where we have individual critical infrastructure operators, and we are looking at putting the CSAT incident response, computer security incident response team to train them from within the critical infrastructure agencies, telecommunications, oil and gas, and all that, those who are involved with critical infrastructure, and to have the set function somewhere up the regulators that sits with the ministry up at the government level. And yes, looking at SOC capability, those are some of the things that we are currently looking at. Of course, it's a proposal at this moment, at this point in time, but we're looking at that sort of framework to put in place for the protection of cyber protection of critical infrastructure in Fiji. So that is the current work that we are working around at this. I mean, with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which was previously the Ministry of Defense, and we've also looked at things like the Budapest Convention for our legislation, and we had a new cybercrime legislation that was coming in from 2021 that is designed around the Budapest Convention, and all those sort of work around cybersecurity, cybercrime, and all the related agenda around that.
Okay, thanks, James. Now, I've got a question for you before I go back to the audience. So policing, I think, is probably one of the hardest areas in cyber defense because bad guys are always faster than the good guys. Legislations and standards are always behind. So my question to you is, how do you keep up to date with the trends that are happening and being on the front foot rather than being on the defensive back foot?
Yes, I agree with you. There is one of the big challenges that we have in cybercrime, and with cybersecurity and also with technology, is that legislation usually lags behind, and the changes of the dynamic nature of the environment is a big challenge for us. One of the things that we usually we try to work with is having a very good network very good network. Collaborations with other agencies, collaborations with for us with the law enforcement. It's collaborations with technology providers. In the information technology domain, in the internet domain, collaborations with Facebook, collaborations with other the giants who are offering the services within the internet, Google and all that, those sort of agencies. So those are some of the things that we try to strengthen in order to combat the changing nature of the environment. But of course, legislation is a big challenge, and we are very thankful to the Budapest Convention, framework, and having some of the countries in the South Pacific using that framework to design their own legislation. But yes, indeed, the change in the modus operandi of the criminals utilizing these technologies is at a very changing pace. And it's a highly dynamic environment. So one of the things that we usually do is that collaborations and training. We encourage a lot of training and research in these areas for individual people to try and keep up to date to the latest trends in the changing environment.
Last week, I've checked, there's no drinks on yet, so we've got one more question.
Right, thanks everyone. I appreciate all the presenters so far. Almost all the questions that I have popped into mind, someone has asked it. And I think the last one was, Beau was also asked one of my questions, so I'm struggling to look for another new question. But here I am thinking about cybersecurity and cyber safety. Yeah, if any of our speakers could sort of differentiate between those two, cybersecurity and cyber safety for us. Thanks.
Yes. Do I have to go first? Or?
Yeah, James, you got it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Cybersecurity is a broad topic, and it includes policies, technological technologies that are used in the protection of systems, legislations, and all that sort of stuff. It's a very broad-ended topic. But when you
looks like an internet issue. And any internet people. Yeah, they're in. I think we've lost you, James. Yep, we're not the best place to lose you either. All right, gone. He's out of there. He'll come back. So, do you want to answer that question? No, Sakaio's out. So, do I have any other questions from the floor? Oh, we got another one. Wow, we're on a roll.
So, I have a question for Sakaio. I know from your presentations, you send out phishing emails test. Like, I'm wondering if anyone has fallen for that. Like. And what other tests do you do to know what you're doing is actually effective, and how often do you do it? Thank you.
Question.
I think two years ago, the click rate was more like between 20 and 30 a day, and that's huge. So when we started this phishing campaign training, we started off with KnowBe4, if you know, and then we recently jumped from before to InfoSec. And the click rate has dropped from, like I said, 20 to 30 now to probably 1 a week. Yes, and with the InfoSec, we've got the report if one of the user click on the email, I get an alert, and straight away I would actually send an email to the user saying, you just click on and from there, they will have to go through a training. It's a must that they will go through a training. So with that, then, in order for them not to go through the training, they will think twice about clicking, because with that, they will keep on going through this training. So that's how we keep a tab of the phishing emails that's coming in, but it has dropped tremendously compared to 2 or 3 years ago. So from there, I can say that, it's working,
Okay, yep, I'm coming.
Yeah, no, I'll give you an example. One of the things that we actually target the local environment. So one of the thing that we've actually asked Info to help us is the biggest shark found in Gizo. So Gizo is one of the holiday destination which is very popular to tourists. So we put something like the biggest shark found in Gizo. And the locals, they will say, how's that possible? Because Gizo, if you know the history, this is where President Kennedy survived during the World War II, because he swam the channels. So when you put something like that, they will say, no, that's not possible. But even though, they still go and click it. So those are the scenarios that we target the local environment. So one of the things that we actually did was the example of big shark found in Gizo, and they all went for it.
And Sakaio will be around. Go and ask him a few more of those questions. And yeah, over a beer or two. The one thing I'd just like to point out, we look at cyber as a defensive. We look at it as a risk. We look at it as a negative. Flip that around. The most successful cyber programs are engagement. It's about people. We've heard from all the speakers coming through. It's actually about people. So make it engaging, make people want to be a part of it. So Sakaio does have a very good cyber program at FFA, Cybercation. And what it is it makes things simple for people to understand and the risk back to them. So ask them about it, ask everyone else about it, use those stories, use what you do to make people engaged, because then they'll ask more questions. If they think there's going to be a slap over the wrist, we're going to hide. So switch the story around. I mean, it's really important because we can leapfrog the bad actors very quickly. There's some that's going to get through, but we can leapfrog the majority of it if we get people engaged. So with that, I heard clapping next door. So if we can give all the presenters a round of applause and thank them. And Suetena and James, we'll have a beer for you. Thank you. We'll have 2 or 3 for you. But we're all around, share some stories, work together. And it looks like I'm handing this back. Are we handing this back? I can keep the microphone forever. I love microphones. So no, I can hand. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the conference. So see you over for a drink. Oh, bye. Bye. They're online. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go. Get out there first. Good. Right, well done.